Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aaron Blade, and I'm the editor, creator, and producer of what you're watching right now, Blade Talk. If you are new here, welcome, and you find this presentation helpful, informative, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Do me an even greater favor and subscribe to my channel. Always appreciate all the support that I am given. In today's presentation, I want to tackle a controversial topic, and that is anti-Semitism. And the reason I want to cover this is because I've gotten several comments and even emails about how if people, especially non-Jews, criticize the state of Israel or the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, they're labeled as anti-Semitic. Even some Jews themselves that disagree with the policies of Israel are being labeled anti-Semitic. So I thought it would be important in this presentation to define what anti-Semitism is, as well as how to identify who is anti-Semitic. So if you're interested, stick around, let's hit that intro, and let's begin. Okay, so I thought it would be a good time to address anti-Semitism because I think there's some confusion going on. And I don't want anti-Semitism to just be thrown around anytime you don't like something that Israel is doing or the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. So let me be very clear. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize the Israeli government. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policy. I tend to do it myself, actually. For example, the whole October 7th ordeal, I remain skeptical about how the Israeli government didn't know in advance that that would happen. Now, there are some that take it a step further and drift into conspiracy theories about, well, the Israeli government knew about the attack and allowed 1,500 of its citizens to be kidnapped, unalived, etc. So that way the IDF would have an excuse to go into Gaza. Now, I don't jump to that conclusion at all. That's a little far-fetched to me. But I do wonder about the intel failure, about what happened on October 7th in terms of the Israeli government. Again, that isn't anti-Semitic. Personally, what I find anti-Semitic is when you have double standards. You see, Israel is looked at through a microscope that no other nation in the world is looked through. As I'm speaking to you now, the estimates, according to Israeli sources, 40,000 people in Gaza have been unalived. Now, let me be very clear. Every single death is a tragedy. Every single death is a tragedy. That being said, half of that number is actual Hamas fighters. So estimates are around 40,000. And some have labeled that a genocide. Now, the double standard comes in when you see people taking over colleges, protesting, etc., over what Israel is doing. But they are very, very silent on the fact that a couple 100,000 Ukrainians have died at the hands of the Russians. And you don't see mass protests about that. You don't see college campuses being taken over. You don't see Russians being harassed. Not that I would call for that at all. In Syria, 1 million people died by the Assad regime. No protests. In China, for the last decade, have pretty much been horrible to minorities in that country. No protests. No Chinese are feeling the pressure at universities, etc., etc. Again, not that I would ever call for it. So you really have to ask yourself, why is it that Israel is the number one target? Why do they have to be so meticulous and so careful when other nations get to unalive by the hundreds of thousands and not a peep? Now, some feel that because the United States of America gives money to Israel, that we should stop. And the thing is the United States of America gives money to both sides. We give money to Turkey, who have their own actual genocide going on against certain Christians. So it can't just be that. So my thing is there are 3 things that you need to ask yourself when it comes to being labeled as an anti-Semite. And the first thing is there a double standard? Are you applying this same ideology and logic to other nations, or are you just targeting Israel? Are you condemning Russia? Are you condemning China? Are you condemning what's happening in Syria or what happened in Syria? Do you have that same amount of energy when it comes to nations that aren't Israel? Number 2. Are you delegitimizing the fact that Israel should exist? Do you believe that the state of Israel shouldn't exist at all? Number 3, lastly, are you attacking Jews for the policies of Israel. So that's something that I don't understand. Jews get harassed on social media, YouTube, college campuses, their synagogues, for something that's happening in Israel. As if we have control over the Israeli government. Are you attacking the Jews and the diaspora and taking your frustrations out on us for policies made by Israel? And again, apply the double standard. Are you doing the same for Russians, Chinese, Syrians, etc., etc.? Or are you only targeting Jews? And again, I don't advocate for anyone to harass anyone. But I do find it strange that there's been an uptick in anti-Semitism since October 7th. It was pretty much there before October 7th, to be honest with you, but it definitely ramped up after October 7th. Me personally, and this is my own personal opinion, I believe that there are radical Muslims that have controlled certain areas of the media, social media, and create this propaganda. Because I believe that, and this is my own personal belief, I don't speak for all Jews at all, but I feel that there is an agenda being pushed by radical Islamists that if they garner sympathy, if they push a certain narrative, that people will buy into it. And sadly, it's working. You want to know something interesting, and I try not to make this channel too political, but on the left, in terms of the Democratic Party, I want you to take a look at something. Before October 7th, the left actually supported Israel. After October 7th, all of a sudden, the support for Palestinians grew by a huge number. That's a huge increase. Now, how did it swing that much in that amount of time? Personally, I believe it is because of the radical Muslims. I believe that they're pushing an agenda, which makes them the victim. They push these ideas, and you have some that are gullible, especially here in America, that go along with it. This belief that queers for Palestine and gays for Allah or Palestine or whatever the case may be. The ironic thing is that there's only one country in the Middle East that allows same-sex marriage. That's Israel. So I feel as though there's a strong narrative that's trying to be pushed, and the idea is for Islam to take over the world. Lebanon was once a beautiful Christian country until it got taken over by radical Muslims. They infiltrate the government and whatnot, and all of a sudden things start to change because they institute a theocracy, they institute Sharia law. And we've seen this when we pulled out of Afghanistan. The Taliban took over, and now women's rights were stripped. They couldn't get an education, they couldn't get a job. They couldn't even walk outside without being fully covered from head to toe. Again, the double standard. Where is the women's rights movements protesting that? It is a well known fact that Iran essentially put a hit out on then presidential candidate Donald Trump. Where was the outrage? I believe that, again, without getting too political, the left in the United States of America has been taken over by radical Muslims. And it's scary. We need to educate those individuals, because this nation was founded on Judeo-Christian values. And because of that, I feel it's become the most prosperous nation in the entire world because of those values. There is no idea of a democracy in the Quran. When Prophet Muhammad died, there was infighting, so much so that the Muslims essentially split over who would take power. Abu Bakr or Ali, which caused the Sunni and Shia rift. There is no idea of a democracy. And it's time that we recognize that fact. Otherwise, I fear for what will happen to this country as a whole. The Western values that we have that says men and women are equal in society. It's important to understand that Islam doesn't share that view. Their goal is to take over and infiltrate the government. And once they do, it shows a more radical side of what Islam is capable of. There's a mayor that's probably going to get elected of New York, Mamdani. And he refuses to condemn the Hamas chants. Refuses to condemn death to America and death to Israel. Pretty much hides it under the idea of free speech. And he's promised people free things. His agenda is free childcare, free bus fare, city-owned grocery stores. It's a full-on communist. He's not even trying to hide it. As if there are people that are going to drive those buses for free. As if there are people that are going to watch children for free. But it's scary. And again, it's not about being against Islam or whatever the case may be. Vote your values. If someone comes to the United States of America, they should be willing to adapt to our values. There shouldn't be someone here that says death to America and hate being here, etc., etc. We've seen people come to this country and then start a movement that goes against this country. I mean, it was said by an American president that our greatest threat isn't going to come from outside. It's going to come from inside. And we have people that are here that genuinely hate this country. And I don't understand it. Now, we're far from perfect. But where would you rather live? In a horrible dictatorship like North Korea, Russia, where they unalive the opposition? There was just a man from North Korea that ran across the DMZ, land full of mines, to get to South Korea. Now you got to ask yourself, how bad is it that someone will risk being blown up to get to South Korea? You have people risking everything to come to this country. And then you have people in this country that are so ungrateful to be here. I don't understand that. But when it comes to anti-Semitism, again, just be consistent is all I ask. Again, there are some that fall into the traps of conspiracy theories when it comes to the Jews. Well, the Jews control Hollywood, they control the banks, etc., etc. These conspiracy theories are based on the fact that the Jews overcame adversity and you hate them for it. So Jews become your scapegoat. And the sad reality is the reason that Hitler was so successful in unaliving so many Jews, and there are Americans that are even starting to sympathize with what Hitler did and whatnot. The reason for this is because they don't want to hold themselves accountable. That is the honest truth. You need a scapegoat, whether it be the rich, the white man, the Jews. You need some kind of reason as to why you're not successful or why you can't get ahead. So you make something else the enemy. Instead of looking at yourself. and saying, I'm going to work harder. There's something that I may have missed. That's how conspiracy theories are fueled. So, Jews become the scapegoat. Jews are intelligent people. Some, not all. And they rise and rise again against adversity. Now, if you're like me, I believe it's because of divine intervention. I think that God plays a role in it. Or if you just want to believe that it's in our culture to educate ourselves, that too. But this idea that if you don't get the same results as someone else, it's because the system is against you. There's an evil agenda or plot against you. Instead of, I just didn't work hard enough. Or maybe I did, and someone else is better than me at that point. And I'm going to come back even stronger. Or I'll learn from it. You got to be able to take a look at yourself and hold yourself accountable. And stop using others as a scapegoat. Anti-Semitism is real, and it's just, quite frankly, the idea that you don't want Jews to exist. You don't want the state of Israel to exist. And I've heard all of the arguments, well, before the 1940s, there was no Israel. It was called something else. And this land belonged to these people and this. And at some point, someone lost a war and they lost the land. It's been going on since the dawn of time. Things change. And that area of Palestine was always a territory of an outlying empire. It was never an independent state. And when that empire falls, so too does its territory. The USSR fell. And then you had Afghanistan and all of these different nations come out of it. And you still have Putin that wants to bring back the USSR and make that his legacy. You have some people that can't let go of the fact that things have changed. You lost the war. And there are consequences for losing the war. You give up territory. But some people can't let it go. As I stated, Putin, there are some Mexicans that can't let go of the fact that California and New Mexico, Texas, these aren't part of Mexico anymore. You lost the Mexican-American War. Same with the Native Americans. And to pretend that this country or this territory was some civilized, amazing place before the Europeans came and colonized it, etc., is not true at all. Tribes were warring with each other. It was chaos. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make the colonizers a saint or put them on a pedestal at all. But again, those Judeo-Christian values were implemented, and it spawned an amazing country. That's not to say America has done everything right. I'm fully aware of the treatment of Native Americans, the treatment of African Americans, the treatment of the Asians during World War II. I am fully aware. But we try to do better. And that's what should really matter. It's not perfect, but what society is. People keep pointing to this country and that country and this country and that country when they don't hold a candle to us. And it shows because no one is trying to bust down their doors to get to whatever country it is that you're mentioning. Everyone wants to come to America, the land of opportunity. That doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that if you come here, that you're going to be successful. But you have a fighting chance, which is more than other countries. So again, that is my take on anti-Semitism, along with a rant since the 4th of July passed, and I've seen so many people ungrateful of this country. And as someone that served in the military, I don't understand it. People don't appreciate this country, and I feel that it ties into the radical Islamic agenda. I think it's important to identify what this narrative and this agenda is being pushed by the left. I'm an egalitarian. I'm all for everyone having equality. I don't care if you're man, woman, black, white, rich, poor, gay, straight. I don't care. You have rights. You have liberty. You have the pursuit of happiness. All men and women are created equal. That's the way that I feel. But your values should line up with ours. That's personally what I believe. When it comes to anti-Semitism, Jews have a right to be here. And that is why I stated before that I'm for proselytizing as Jews, because the more Jews that we have, the more awareness is going to bring to the world. I think it's important. I don't think that we're ever going to go away, because God stated so. We'll always be small in number, but we'll never go away. We're 2% of the population on this earth, but the amount of hatred that we get, based on conspiracy theorists that don't want to take accountability. Because the Jews are successful, we need to hate them. Or you have the Hebrew Israelites that accuse the Jews of stealing their identity because they can't hold themselves accountable and admit that they don't know where their lineage comes from. I encourage people that don't know to read the Torah. Read the Tanakh. So, if you found this presentation helpful and informative, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Do me an even greater favor and subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate all the support that I am given. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Blade Talk. Be good to yourselves, be good to others, and until the next episode, you all take care.